If you've ever struggled with the decision of continuing to wear foggy, wet, gunked up goggles, or potentially going blind by flying debris out on the wet and muddy trails, go ahead and hit that subscribe button today, everybody. We're going to be talking about the Leatt Velocity 4.0 X-Flow goggles, an option that might be worth consideration. So Leatt did a little bit of a soft launch with the new Leatt Velocity X-Flow goggles. They've been a product that we have been riding also since about Crankworx Whistler when we got that new 6.0 gravity helmet that we recently reviewed. They told us this would be a really exciting new product for enduro, full face riders, people who like to spend a lot of time, wearing a full face, climbing up and down, riding, that don't want to have to take the helmet, or their goggles, I should say, on and off regularly. And that increased ventilation for both the top and bottom were certainly attractive and something that I was very excited about as a bit of a mouth breather and goggle fogger myself. So I was really excited to put time on these. So here the goggles have the clear lens. It is their bulletproof lens that you find in a lot of their other goggles. And despite having a pretty open frame, they are still a rather stiff, safe, protective feeling goggle. They come in $70 price points with the clear and a $90 price tag for the mirrored lens. Obviously, if you're kind of running in this type of goggle, I would imagine most people will be running a clear because it's probably going to be dark, wet, misty, and visibility will be what you're looking for. Something else that's really neat about the Leatt's enduro goggles, and something that we kind of thought was a little bit of a BS marketing gimmick when they came out with this on a goggle last year, is the ventilated straps. I gotta say though, I was really impressed by how well these do allow air to flow through, and when I really noticed it was on the climbs when I would have my goggles around backwards. And I wasn't getting cold air hitting my forehead in the winter months. When I put these goggles on and flipped around, the forehead was cold. That meant cold air was still coming through this goggle strap and hitting my head. And that was kind of when I was like, oh wow, that's not just marketing hype, that's actually a real noticeable enhancement or benefit of that. So props to Leatt for that. But it's not all thumbs up for the old X-Flow goggles, and we'll get into that now. I have found that a lot of debris, gunk, especially mud, flies up into the goggles from beneath as well as comes up and enters from above. So I think these goggles will have a lot of riders very excited and stoked. However, I think it'll have a lot of riders getting crap in their eye. When I got these, again, it was at Crankworx Whistler. I went out and rode some of the more loamier off mountain trails that were steep. There had been some rain recently, so when you're going down really steep stuff and that tire is just flicking up loam and grit and beautiful rich soil, it was coming up through the bottom of the goggle and either hitting me in the face or kind of like hanging out here on the lens until I would tilt my head and it would fall up. On a little bit flatter trails where there was like mud, possibly, like wet sandy grit like we get a lot of here in Bend when we get our hero sand conditions, stuff would fly up, hit the visor, and come down through the top of the helmet, just because there's no screen and big wide open ports. So when we were riding in drier conditions, if it's just dusty, dry soil or dirt and there's not the chance for lots of crap to be flying up off your tires, they're absolutely awesome. The struggle for me in recommending or wanting to wear these is that usually when you really don't want to fog your goggle, that means the ground is wet and muddy and stuff's going to be flying around. So ideally what I would love to see is, like, for example, on Leatt's other goggles here, they've got almost, for lack of a better word, I'll call it a cheesecloth sort of screen along the bottom. Up here along the top, there's like perforated ventilation material. I would say if you're like an enduro rider, e-bike rider who wants protection from the cold air, you know, so your eyes aren't tearing and watering up on the climbs or getting cold air blasted while you're climbing. This is great because like they actually do breathe really well. They're very comfortable on the face. And for descending, they offer you better vision, better view. You're not getting just blasted like you do with some sunglasses. I think, you know, what's cool about these is that if you're wearing an open face helmet, you know, whether that's like kind of that 3/4 style or just like a regular XC helmet and you like to wear goggles, you'll still get great ventilation and airflow, but you'll get that goggle look and visibility enhancement. And then if you want to wear it with like a full face helmet, be it an enduro or like a full-on downhill helmet, this is still something that will look and feel right at home. And there are pros to the goggle, there are cons to the goggle, and I hopefully gave you guys a little bit of information that works for you guys. So if you want the cold weather protection, the goggle look, the goggle visibility, the goggle safety, right? I mean, it is like if I hit my face in a helmet like this or an open face helmet versus a pair of glasses, like I'm gonna feel a lot safer in this. But again, if you're riding in terrain that's just flinging and kicking a lot of stuff up off the ground, these big open ports are gonna definitely be something to consider. And it didn't happen every single ride, but when stuff was nasty, I would say 3 or 4 out of 5 rides. So, you know, 75+% of the time I would get something in my eye or close to my eye at least once per ride. And I don't think that's a good enough percentage for what these goggles are trying to do for the type of riders that are looking. So that is the Leatt X-Flow Velocity 4.0 goggles. If there's another breathable goggle you want us to check out and review, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear. Thanks guys. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and we'll see you out on the trails.